Hello everyone, this is the Average Pharmacist here. And as I said before, the reason I made this YouTube channel was just to let you guys know about different medications you take, what are their side effects, how they work, things like that. And another reason I made this YouTube channel was to let you guys know some interesting things that have happened throughout medical history, both past and present. So if you guys do have any questions about any medications that you want to learn about, if you want to know about their side effects or how they work, just leave me a comment below and I'll definitely make that my next video. So as promised, today I'm going to be covering the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. And in my previous video, which was the Pfizer vaccine video, and if you haven't watched it, I'll recommend you watch it and tell others to watch it, just so you kind of can know about these COVID vaccines. There's a lot of talk about them right now, and if you want to brush up on what they actually do and what they're all about, then watch my previous Pfizer COVID vaccine, and you'll kind of get a brief idea. I did in that previous video talk about COVID-19, about some introductory information about that, so I'm not going to repeat it here. And what I did talk about in my last video, and I'm going to brush up on it again, is this emergency use authorization. So as I said before, this is only done in an emergency situation, and this is when the FDA will allow a drug to be used before its approval, if there is a dire need for it. But what I didn't mention in my previous video is exactly when does the emergency use authorization end. So the emergency use authorization will end when the Secretary of Health and Human Services determines that the circumstance justifying the emergency use is no longer needed, or it no longer exists, or if there is a change in the approval status of the product. So if the drug is approved, then the emergency use authorization will not be needed. However, now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're still in the emergency use stage of all of these vaccines. So the Moderna vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and the Pfizer vaccine. So they're all under the umbrella of emergency use authorization. So the Moderna vaccine, which you see pictured here, it is administered in 2 doses, 1 month apart. So that is different from the Pfizer vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine was administered 2 doses, 3 weeks apart. So you get your Moderna vaccine, and then a month later, you get your second and last dose. So it's 2 doses, 1 month apart. And with the Moderna vaccine, it is not interchangeable with the other COVID vaccines. Meaning, if you get a dose of the Moderna vaccine first, you won't get Pfizer second, and vice versa. If you get your Pfizer vaccine first, you don't get Moderna second. There's just no data showing that they're interchangeable. So you're going to get Moderna first and you get Moderna second. And then with Pfizer, you'll get Pfizer first, your first dose, and then you get your second Pfizer dose, and then you'll be done after that. So in regards to the patient population, the Moderna vaccine is used in patients 18 years and older. And as you can see, this is different from the Pfizer vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine was used in patients that were 16 years and older. And Moderna is used in patients that are 18 and older just because in the clinical trials that were done with Moderna, the age of the patients were only 18 and up. Okay, but the Wall Street Journal, they did report that Moderna, they have some clinical trials right now with the Moderna vaccine done in children 6 months to 11 years. Okay, and these clinical trials, the patients are enrolled in Canada and in the U.S. And also, Moderna, they have some clinical trials in children 12 to 17 years. So we just have to see what happens with the efficacy data, with the showing that the medication works, and with the safety data showing that it's safe, and the dosing data. We just have to kind of gather all that from the clinical trials to see if it can be used in children. And if it can, in the near future, we'll definitely see that used in that patient population. So in regards to the adverse events that happened in the Moderna clinical trials, they were very similar to the Pfizer vaccine clinical trials. So pain at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle pain, joint pain, chills, nausea, vomiting, swelling, and redness at the injection site. All those side effects were seen in the Moderna COVID vaccine clinical trials, and they were seen in the Pfizer clinical trials also. But one adverse event that was seen in the Moderna clinical trials that was not in the Pfizer clinical trials was that patients actually had swelling and tenderness in the axillary area. So the that is just basically the area under your underarms. Okay, so like kind of the armpit area. So that was one difference that we didn't see in the Pfizer clinical trials, but we saw it in the Moderna clinical trials. However, as I discussed before, these clinical trials are conducted in specific conditions. So sometimes these adverse events, we can't directly compare them with the rates that we'll see in the public use. We just have to use them, in the public, and then we'll be able to see, okay, this correlates with the clinical trials. But we just don't know, all the adverse events that come with Moderna, because we need to use it in a larger patient population in the public. So, in the future, we may know kind of what side effects Moderna has, but that's just going to take some time, and it's going to take more widespread use for us to know, all of the side effects of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. Another thing with the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is that you do have these allergic reactions also, just like with the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. So if this does happen, hopefully it doesn't happen if you get the shot, but if it does happen, your doctor, nurse, or pharmacist will treat you accordingly to make sure it doesn't get worse. But you can see these allergic reactions with the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine also. So the way that the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine works is it works just like the Pfizer vaccine. The Moderna vaccine it does not have COVID, right? It doesn't contain COVID, and it's an mRNA vaccine. So what mRNA is messenger RNA, and messenger RNA or mRNA is genetic material. This material is injected. When the material is injected, it actually will teach your cells in your body how to make copies of a protein. So later, if you're exposed to COVID-19, and hopefully you won't be, but if you're exposed to COVID-19 at a later date, your body will recognize it and it will fight it off, right? Just because this mRNA taught your body how to make these proteins, and then if these proteins detect your body has COVID, it will fight it. So after the messenger RNA or mRNA teaches your cells how to do this, it is broken down. So when the vaccine actually starts working, that's when you see these side effects, like you see these fevers and chills. This is normal, and it's actually showing you the vaccine is working. So just like with the Pfizer vaccine, there is limited scientific information available, but all the scientific data with the Moderna vaccine has been taken into account, and it is believed that the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine may be effective for the prevention of COVID-19. So I wanted to keep the video very brief and very short. The Moderna COVID-19 vaccine and the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine are very similar. They have a lot of similarities. They actually work the same. They're both mRNA vaccines. The only differences are just the age range. So in the Moderna vaccine, we use that for 18 and up. However, as explained before, there are clinical trials being done as we speak in patients as young as 6 months. So we just have to let time pass, see what data is collected, and see if the FDA will allow it to be used in a younger patient population. And the same with Pfizer. Pfizer, they do have some clinical trials being done right now in children younger than 16. But as for now, Pfizer is for children 16 and up. Okay? And another thing is with the side effects. So they're very similar between both of the drugs. The only difference being that in the Moderna COVID-19 clinical trials, we did see that axillary swelling, which is the area like on your armpit. We saw that swelling and tenderness, and we didn't see that with the Pfizer vaccine. However, this was in the Moderna clinical trials, and we need to test it more in patients in the public to see, what if this is a real adverse event or if it just happened during the clinical trials. And then lastly, the only other difference is that the Moderna vaccine, you get a month apart. So you get one dose and you get your second dose a month later. And with the Pfizer vaccine, that was 3 weeks apart. You got your first dose, then you got your second dose 3 weeks later. And looks like that's about it for both of those vaccines. So my next video is going to be on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And that is a little different than these two vaccines, but we'll discuss that in that video, and hopefully I'll try to have that out by next week. But like I said before, if you guys have any questions or you want to know about a specific drug, if you leave me a comment below, that will be my next video. And I did see some of the comments that some of you have left, and you guys want to see some more videos. So right after my Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine video, I'm going to go ahead and address those comments that you guys left for me to do videos on specific drugs. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope you guys are enjoying the rest of your day, and you be safe out there.